Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, we're going to talk about the delay with Onana, where it's at now, as we do have some new updated information on the situation there. Talk about Rasmus Hojlund as that deal moves along pretty quickly. Talk about Alex Telles being sold. Talk about Johnny Evans returning to United. And talk about the takeover. So let's get right into it. All right, so in terms of Andre Onana, the timeline is a little bit shaky here. It seems like it's been delayed a bit more than it has, simply because the deal was not quite done as early as was stated. I know people don't like me necessarily being the negative person on this, but this obviously is a funny thing here, being like a former ITK account that, again, is putting the brakes on when things are being a little bit overstated. The deal was agreed in full to the point where Onana could travel as of just Monday evening when I tweeted that out. Following that, he was set to travel on Tuesday. There were some delays, and this had nothing to do with the deal itself, but simply visa travel delays. There's issues with airports in Italy right now, weather and other things. And he was even set to take a flight. He arrived at an airport in Turin late at night, 10 o'clock. He was set to fly out, and then that plane started to go and actually went back and decided not to take off. He then finally, here's where we are today, Andre Onana on a plane at around 2:30 local time, Italy, this afternoon, landed in Manchester around 3:15 local time in Manchester, and should be set now to go to Carrington for his medical and get things moving. He should be able to then sign his contracts on Thursday, today, complete everything, pictures, announcement, all of that, and likely fly separately but join up with the squad in New York maybe on Friday. Will he be ready to play versus Arsenal? Maybe in the second half. He'll get some minutes in there. But he should be there for then the bulk of preseason and the tour. So nothing to worry about here. None of the delays have been down to any issue with the deal. Simply some logistics in the last few days. And obviously the complication is that, the complication with all of this is that everybody traveling, everybody moving, all of that, it's difficult, okay? So getting it all on time. But Andre Onana is in Manchester, is getting his medicals done this evening to wrap things up, hopefully get everything signed and all of that. Maybe he can travel with the team. I don't know that everything can get done that fast, but it is likely he will fly tomorrow or on Friday and be announced. The original plan was medical Tuesday, everything else finished Wednesday, going with the team and announced on Thursday. It's a little bit accelerated now, but it should get done. No problem there. Andre Onana in at United will be goalkeeper for many of the preseason games, and expecting to be announced pretty imminently now. So moving on to the next one, which is Rasmus Hojlund. Obviously, you can see that things have moved pretty quickly on Rasmus Hojlund. As we know, the deals, they're not working one at a time, even if they're finishing one at a time. As I've mentioned many times, they look at the overall plan of things. They look at the overall structure. They look at exactly, how it's going with all the targets to make sure they can get it all done. So with Rasmus Hojlund, here's where it stands right now. One, United are looking to wrap up sales of Dean Henderson, Anthony Elanga, and anything else they can get in order to add to the funds for Rasmus Hojlund, because Atalanta are not interested in any players. There has yet been no new bid for Rasmus Hojlund. The deal for Rasmus Hojlund was very, very well advanced with the player for quite a while, up until around early June, when it was suddenly stopped entirely. Personal terms are agreed. There's no issue with the player wanting to join. Everything is pretty much well understood on this. And finally, you're starting to see the price be changed in how it's reported, with Simon Stone now reporting around 70 million euros. David Ornstein reporting around 70 million euros. It's not that 100 million mark. And that's sort of the starting point. Realistically, what United are hoping to get done with this is around 50 to 55 million euros, maybe 50 million pounds as a base fee with some add-ons up to around 60 million euros, 65 million euros or so. That's the type of deal they think is feasible. Maybe in the end, 45 plus 10 or so in terms of pounds, getting them up to about 55 maximum on this deal in terms of million pounds. They need a bit more money, or they're looking to raise a bit more funds to do this, but departures of Dean Henderson, who is in talks with Nottingham Forest, as well as the sale of Anthony Elanga, who is in talks with multiple clubs, including Forest as well, should help to move this deal along. It is very, very advanced. The player loves United, wants to move forward, and if they can get it for, they're not going to pay 70, 80 million euros, but if they can get it for around that 55 million euros plus add-ons mark, then a deal will get done here. And it will require Atalanta to be a bit flexible because they're not going to pay 70 million euros up front for him. And they're going to need to be flexible on the payment terms as well. However, when you look at the alternates that are being mentioned, like Kolo Muani, it doesn't quite add up because Kolo Muani costs around 100 million euros. So that doesn't really make sense. Could there be another alternate? If you're talking 70 million euros, then you're probably not getting it done. And you may be looking more to a player that is like Gonzalo Ramos, who would cost around maybe 70, 75 million euros plus some add-ons and is a much more established player who is highly rated. So if they cannot get a deal done for in the 55 plus range, then they will look to someone like that perhaps and to bring in a striker. But they fully intend to address the striker now. Sales are going to be a big part of it. I don't expect a bid is going to be the next day or two, but it should move pretty quickly once these departures get sorted. With the team flying to the US, you're going to see, we'll see if Dean Henderson and Anthony Elanga are on that plane, but as of right now, they're not expected to be. And if they don't, then you can expect their departures imminently. That could raise another 30, 40. That would allow this deal to now happen. So we expect the Rasmus Hojlund deal to progress pretty quickly. Obviously, a little sale here. Alex Telles has been sold to Saudi Arabia, to Al Nassr, where Cristiano Ronaldo is. And obviously a bit out of the blue that they came in for an offer. It's great, 4 million pounds, wages off. I think that's about as good as you're going to get for Alex Telles, frankly. I don't think you could expect much more than that. Getting him off the wages is very good and is something that United would be happy to have. Clears up space, gets a little bit of money. They're now at a total of around 7 million, 8 million in sales. So if you can add Elanga for 12 to get to 20, add Henderson for 25, you're up to 45. Well, now you've spent about 47 and 55. You spend about 100. So on that 100 to 120 budget, you add the 45 in, you've got enough for a 55, 60 million purchase, which is enough for that striker. And that's what's going to happen next. You're not likely to see something like Amrabat or a midfielder pursued, as we discussed, until this is done. And you'd have to have more sales of players like Fred Van de Beek and also likely Scott McTominay, in my opinion. And I'll talk about this next thing and then talk about this again, a little bit of the preseason here. But Johnny Evans re-signing for Manchester United. Of course, this is a very short-term deal, about a month, while he figures out his future. Obviously has connections with the club. Obviously as well is his wife works for MUTV, and yeah, so you'd expect that it's just sort of like a nice favor and all of that. There's some talk he could get a longer term contract afterwards. Maybe he could stick around. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but of course it's a possibility. It's not impossible that could be the case. And part of that could, of course, be, is Harry Maguire going to leave? If Harry Maguire gets sold and they're looking to raise funds for him after this captaincy thing and all of that, would you sign Johnny Evans as that backup? I don't think so, okay? I don't think so. All signs right now point to it's just some fitness helping because Reece Bennett got an injury. They don't have enough young center backs, so he's going to help kind of round out that that squad a little bit in terms of the youth and rotation and all of that. And so I don't think that he's going to be signed, but we'll see. In terms of the youth, when you look at who could make it into the squad, it's interesting you're seeing Hannibal, again play. I thought he did really well today in preseason. Kabi Mainu. I think those are your two most likely. And I think, again, between them and Ahmad, those are the three main players that are going to be evaluated over the course of preseason, as well as Facundo Pellistri, who has interest from FC20, as well as club in Spain. United want him to sign a contract and go on loan again, probably, but we'll see if he wants to sign that deal or if he would like to depart permanently to move on with his career. So there's still evaluations there based on the first couple preseason games. I think Kabi Manu and Hannibal are still quite impressive. I think they've done quite well, and I think they could serve a place in the team. I was looking into the minutes and all of that, and with Mason Mount coming in, when you look at the minutes that were there for like the backups, like there was Sabitzer and Donny Van de Beek last year, behind Fred, behind Scott, behind all of these players. With Mount pushing that down, there's probably a good 600 to 800 minutes there. And I could reasonably see those minutes being given to Hannibal and Kabi Manu and getting some first team experience around there. But we'll see. It's obviously for Hannibal, he's going to need a really solid loan if he goes out on loan. And Kabi Manu, I don't think is going to be loaned. I think he's going to stay around the first team. So it's interesting, what all could happen with these youth players, but we're going to have to wait to the end of preseason to find that out. But regardless, you have to look at it as the next signing is going to be a striker. So if there's depth missing in some of these positions, it may as well be filled out by the youth players because we've got nobody else to do it. So that's what we have there, and kind of wild Johnny Evans and all of that. Coming back and seeing him in the shirt and everything, but not likely to stay long-term, but stranger things have happened. So in terms of the takeover, obviously a lot of questions have been asked about this, and, a lot of questions here. A lot of things have been asked. There was a Bloomberg article talking about how, a decision was expected imminently and all of that, and I'm not sure that that's the case. Again, people are going to take this however they want. This was a whole article about what if Jim Ratcliffe wins and about that he could and these things that are happening and how he would spend and all that. But that same journalist had gone on a fan channel talking about how his bid was dead, but then it obviously hasn't been, and it's been a month and nobody knows. And Jamie Jackson's come out today and said that, Jim Ratcliffe is prepared to wait as things move into the new season, and that's the expectation. He's going to wait it out. That, that haven't got an answer back yet, that Sheikh Jassim has become frustrated with the length of the process and isn't sure that the Glazers want to sell and hasn't got back either. It really all comes down to the basic thing. I think there's a deal on the table, obviously, from both parties. The Glazers have not made up their mind. This is not a vote. This is every single Glazer person has to be on the same page. Everybody on there has to unanimously agree to what is going to happen, and they haven't. And that's the simplicity of it. And until that happens, it will remain stalled. And at this point, it is 100% going into the new season. It's July 19th. Even if they pick someone tomorrow, it wouldn't be done until September, maybe later. It's not going to happen anytime soon. I would expect it to roll into the new season. And honestly, all bets are off at this point. I haven't got any new update. Everybody is kind of in that holding and waiting pattern. That doesn't mean some work isn't being done, but it is holding and waiting for the decision to be finally made on what is going to happen and allowing it to press forward. And at this point, I don't expect us to hear anything until maybe mid-August, maybe after the season starts, or, right around then. I just don't. And I think it's pretty clear, that is a possibility of it. Okay, so that's what I have for today. Another preseason game in the books that I thought was decent. Not the best game. Overall, I thought the performance was a little bit less impressive, but it's fine. There was, it was a little less tidy in all of that. But there were still some good performances from players. A lot of sharpness. I was real impressed with Kovar again. Real impressed Rafael Varane kind of getting up to speed. I thought Wan-Bissaka was very good today as well. I thought Sancho looked sharp, even though he's playing in the striker role that doesn't really suit him. And I thought Hannibal and Kabi Manu were very good among the first 45 minutes players. And Dan Gore looks great from the second unit. But real interesting. So, yeah, that's what we've got. I'll keep you updated on things, but I expect that the Rasmus Hojlund deal will start to move as some sales come in. And again, Andre Onana in the UK now, and as I hear it, in Carrington at this very moment in time, arrived about at the time of this recording, right about when I started, he arrived. So he's going to be having his medical, getting through everything. I think they're trying to move quickly to make sure he can get out on that tour, so we have an actual goalkeeper for the tour. Okay, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you in the next one.